Welcome to our Devos this week. We have been examining God's character. And what I believe as a pastor is some of the reasons why we don't meet on a regular basis with God is because we frankly don't think about his character that much. We don't focus truly on how good he is, and we lose out on that aspect. And because of that, we kind of shrink away from meeting with him. Well, one of the characteristics of God that should ultimately motivate you is one that we're going to focus on today. And I'm going to start off with an illustration. My wife and I, we have 3 kids. Okay, and and she stays at home with them by God's grace. She stays at home and takes care of them. And she wanted to do that, and I wanted her to do that, and we prayed, and God just enabled that she could be home with the kids, and it's a wonderful thing. But one thing I realized whenever she's at home, or I should say whenever she's out and I'm at home with the kids alone, is I would rather be working. Now, I love my kids, don't take me wrong. I love being around them, but I find myself losing my patience with my children, okay? And I want to spend as much time with them as I can, but I always feel as a parent, and I don't know if any of you are like this, I always feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. And one area that I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing in is when it comes to being patient with them. Now, when I'm with them and when I'm spending time with them, where we're all together as a family, if you are with us, if you're with me and my wife together, you're going to notice that she is so much more patient. Like she is very, very slow to get angry, and she's very, very easy to kind of approach and talk through things. Well, because I'm not used to being around them as much as she is, I'll be like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Like, do you ever see a toddler and some of the things they do? I'm like, what's going on? And then my wife will be in the other room saying, she's 4, right? And I have to remind myself she's 4. And that's where the grace comes in. But this is a terrible illustration. I promise I'm a good father. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. But this is what I want you to realize. God is patient. That's one of his characteristics. He's patient. And what does that mean? That means that God is not quick to display his wrath, but he is slow. He is graceful. He enables you a lot of times to experience his character in this way because he reminds us of how patient he is whenever we do something that's wrong. Look with me in Psalm 68, verse 5. But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. The idea that God is completely perfect, which as a father, I am not perfect, but God is a perfect father. The idea that God is completely holy, that he has never sinned, that he is perfect, that everything he does is just, that everything he does is right. The idea that God is willing to extend his patience towards us and not completely wipe us out when we make the first mistake, not completely wipe us out when we disregard him, when we don't give our first thoughts to him, when we don't think about him all day long, that he does not wipe us out, but instead he is patient with us because of our frailty. That should make you want to meet with him. It makes me want to meet with him. It makes me realize just how deep God's love is for us and how we take that for granted. We do. I think that the more we get to know him, the closer we want to get to him. And hopefully you realize that you've made mistakes and there are things that kind of keep you from having the vibrant relationship with God that you may want. But remind yourself that he's patient. He's abounding in love. He is slow to anger. He's quick to mercy. That's the God that we serve. That's the character that we see in Jesus Christ. Look at how Jesus dealt with people. Look at how Jesus dealt with people that were in sin. Look at how patient he was. Look at how much, instead of ripping apart somebody that is doing something horrible, like a tax collector or a prostitute, what did Jesus do? He talked to them. He reasoned to them. He suggested to them what they ought to do. It's patience. That's the God that we serve. That's the God who has called you. And I want you to get close to him. I want you today to thank him for his patience. I want you to thank God that he is more patient with you than you are with your children, than I am with my children. And thank God that that patience is available right now.